We know that our success depends heavily on an engaged and committed community to work alongside us and help us to continually improve. Thank you for being active participants in the process. Pam, roll call, please.
Mrs. Belford,
Present.
Mr. Craig,
Present.
Mrs. Deskovich,
Present.
Mr. Susan,
Present.
and Mr. Ziegler.
Present.
At this time, I would like to hold a moment of silence for members of our BPS family who have recently passed away. Thomas Samuel Rich, a teacher from Palm Bay Elementary. Tanya Hustols, a cafeteria worker from Vieira High. Joe Goldian, a lacrosse official. Daniel Yazlovsky, an 11th grade student from Astronaut High. Devin Downs, a 12th grade student from Astronaut High. And Brianna Keller, a 9th grade student from Heritage High. Our thoughts and hearts are with their family and friends. This evening, we have two students from Mila Elementary School to assist with the pledge and invocation. 6th grade student Allison Adkins will read the invocation, and Julie Eason, also in 6th grade, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you both remain at the podium so we have an opportunity to learn more about you when you're done. Allison, please proceed.
We gather together here today intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. May everybody please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies, and we very much appreciate your message. Let's see. Julie, you want to go first since you're there? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Julie Eason. I'm 11 years old and I go to Mila Elementary.
Excellent. Do you have family here with you this evening?
Yes, I have my mom, my dad, my sister, my other sister, and my brother.
All right, mom, dad, sister, other sister, and brother, if you would stand so we could recognize you. Do you have any pets, Julie?
Yes, I have one dog. His name is Biscuit.
And what kind of a dog is Biscuit?
I think he's a lab.
Oh, okay. Big dog. Excellent. No other pets? And what do you enjoy doing other than going to school and being part of this amazing group?
I like to go to book bash, art club, engineering. I can't think of it.
That's quite a bit. And quite varied interest. Good for you. Not limiting yourself to one particular type of interest. That's great. So what do you like best about your school?
I like getting to have time to spend time with my friends, and I like math.
And have you been at your school the entire time? Did you start there at kindergarten or did you start later?
I started in 3rd grade.
Okay. And are you happy that you moved to your school in 3rd grade?
I really like Mila.
Excellent. So is there anything that you would like to change about Mila?
Well, some of the kids at our school, they go home with bags of food for the weekend. So I was wondering if we could start a community garden so they can sometimes go home with fresh foods too.
Excellent idea. Yeah, great idea. So we'll have to work, Dr. Blackburn, on supporting them and starting a community garden. Good job. All right, Allison, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Allison Atkins. I am in 6th grade in Mila Elementary, and I am 11 years old.
Okay, do you have family with you tonight?
Yes, my mom and my dad.
All right, Mom and Dad, please stand so we can recognize you. So what do you like doing other than going to school?
I like to do gymnastics and I like to go swimming and ride my bike.
Okay, very good. And do you have pets?
Yes, I have a dog and her name is Zoe and she's a mutt.
Mutts. Mutts are the best. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters. One is 17 and one is 15.
Ah, so you're the baby. Do you like being the youngest?
Kinda.
Got some perks there? Excellent. And what do you like most about your school?
What I like about my school is that they give you a bunch of education to learn.
Okay, very good. You like learning, huh? Is there a favorite subject area that you like learning, or do you just like it all?
Science.
Science. That's a fun one. And is there anything that you would like to change about your school?
To have more recess because I want to have more time outside since we only go 2 days a week outside.
Only 2 days a week outside. Okay. And so what would you do with more recess time?
We would be able to engage with our friends more and yeah.
Thought about that.
Yeah. Excellent answer. Thank you, ladies, both for joining us this evening. Prior to the board meeting, we've had the pleasure of listening to the percussion ensemble from Mila Elementary under the direction of instructor Christine Givens. The students will perform one more number. However, please give us just a few moments for the board to move to the front so we can enjoy your performance even further. Wonderful job, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and starting our board meeting off with such great energy. We appreciate it. Audience, we're going to take a brief recess for the students to gather their belongings, and then we will resume. Thank you.
Four, three, two.
And we are back in session. I would like to offer my fellow board members the opportunity to recognize students, staff, or community members before we get into tonight's agenda. Board members, recognition, anyone? Ms. Deskovich.
I just have a couple. Today I had the honor of going to Holland Elementary School and delivering a Brevard Schools Foundation grant check to Miss Laura Harris. And that's probably the most fun thing I've done since maybe the Harry Potter video was a little more fun, but it was very fun. We presented her with a check for funds to help them start a TV production studio there at Holland, and their PTO has raised money for some of the equipment, and so this is going to go towards that also. And I presented her the check in front of the class, and the class went wild. They were, I mean, you think we would have given them the full lottery. They were jumping up and down and excited. So that was a lot of fun. And a shout out to, I attended the Level 5 Leaders meeting this past week. And that is our up and coming leaders and principals within the district. And so shout out to the principals that are donating their time to train the up and coming, their free time in the evenings. And a shout out to those that are spending the time going to these workshops to learn to get to sharpen up their skills for their future leadership positions. And attended the South District area science fair at the Melbourne Mall. Again, amazing projects. These kids blow it out of the park every time. And the awards ceremony was a good time also. That's what I got.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Craig? Oh, is there someone down there?
No, that's right. Thank you, Misty. A couple weeks ago, Dr. Blackburn and I got to go to Roosevelt Elementary School for the 50th celebration of the 50th anniversary of Roosevelt. Very interesting history of that school because it has been everything from just a grade school to just a middle school to both, and now back to just a grade school. And Dottie Richardson, the principal there, is doing an awesome job. It's her last year. So thanks to her and the entire team for welcoming us into the building and celebrating the 50th anniversary of Roosevelt over in Cocoa Beach. This past Saturday, the Office of Student Services and ESE office with Donna Babursky put on the START conference, which was really a expo for our ESE families and students and parents. Awesome, unbelievable event over at Vieira High School here. Started at 7:30 in the morning, went into the early afternoon. Had a lot of vendors there with camps and different activities that benefit our ESE population, but also then some great breakout sessions with different emphasis on different areas of advocacy and intervention. And I just, as a parent of a student with disabilities, I appreciate the effort that was put in, the time that everybody put into that. And my son is so excited because he finally found a camp that he's going to go to this summer. So it was worth it for that. But thank you all very much, and Donna, great job. There was an article in the paper, perhaps some of you saw it, about Junior Achievement and their Shark Tank entrepreneur event this last week. was held at the Cocoa Playhouse. They had 5 finalist teams that competed in front of a panel of judges to earn some pretty large scholarships to FIT, recurring scholarships to FIT. Vieira's team came out the victors, but a special mention to all the JA volunteers that work in our schools. My wife does an amazing job with the Da Vinci team over at Charles Parker's Da Vinci Engineering Group over at Merritt Island High School, but there are volunteers in the classroom every week working with these kids to take their ideas and show them how they can make a difference in the world. And if you saw some of the stuff that these kids have come up with, these teams came up with, it was amazing. I think the winning thing was a trash can that the bags replenish themselves. So you know how you used to put them in the bottom and all that stuff. Now they just completely replenish themselves, and it was a really cool thing. So congratulations to the students from Vieira who won those scholarships. Finally, in the audience today, we got Milo Zonka. He's from the Brevard County Appraiser's Office, but more importantly, many of you know Milo's work at the Brevard Field of Dreams and out in West Melbourne, and the great facility that we have out there. I was talking to Milo on the phone earlier today. I would encourage each of us to go over there and visit it. As I mentioned, the ESE stuff a little bit earlier, that's what Field of Dreams caters to, and I think there's a natural partnership with our school district in making sure that we fully utilize that facility in all the ways that it can be. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll get with Milo and his team, and we'll figure out how to get over there and see what they provide and connect the dots with BPS, because I think we've got some great opportunity to do that. So thanks for being here, Milo, and thanks for all you do with Field of Dreams.
Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you. First, I'd like to congratulate Educational Technology, which is our IT department. A lot of people don't realize they're the glue that holds together our district through all the technology I deal with. But along with something Mr. Craig has spoken to in the past about business continuity, it's very important in the technology world. And when we went to Microsoft Office in the cloud, we had an issue with if our power was out at this building and our servers were down, we couldn't authenticate and get our mail. That's definitely a business continuity issue, and ET solved that problem by getting a virtual server in the cloud as a redundant way to authenticate our email, so we will never be down on email, even if this building disappears. So thank you very much to ET for that great work in keeping us alive technologically. The other item is something that I've been hoping would come to fruition for many, 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 many years, and I'd like to thank the superintendent, Major Morris, and the Sheriff's Department for putting into place a drug dog program in conjunction with our schools, and it's actually really quickly been successful. I'd like to congratulate Deputy Gweninger and Canine Sonic for a hit at the Vieira High School parking lot for, I guess, drugs in a car. And I don't know the details. Of course, that's a discipline scenario. We can't discuss details on that. But I think it's huge that we are actually proactively trying to do something to discourage kids from bringing drugs to school. And I think if that message gets out, hopefully through Florida Today, that these dogs are coming through our high school parking lots, maybe they'll all just leave them at home or maybe just give them up altogether. Thank you to the Sheriff's Department, Linda Morrison, and the Superintendent for supporting that effort. I think that's huge. Thank you.
Mr. Susan.
I wanted to first say thank you to Astronaut and Palm Bay for their previews of their construction programs that they have. There's a lot of CTE programs that we have inside of our school district that not many people know about. These construction programs have been in effect for a long time. They've just been underutilized. Going through those two gentlemen, one's been a teacher here for 17 years and the other one 27 years. And to say that those guys have been churning out construction individuals for that many years is absolutely amazing, and their programs are great. I also want to say the same thing to Russell Cheatham and the IT department. You guys are everything short of amazing. Even tonight's thing that we're putting together, along with all the other programs that you guys have put in place to utilize federal dollars to match and to save us millions is phenomenal. I just want to say thank you for that. Ardbeg Creech, thanks for moving one of my bus depot areas or bus stations a couple of times, dealing with a couple of parents and being very, very nice and writing a huge report to get them under wraps. Thank you, Mr. Creech. I wanted to talk to the warehouse staff about saying thank you for having me over there and listening inside their in their little break room and talking to me about all the different things that they do so that I could better understand how the warehouse works. And then I wanted to say thank you to Suntree Elementary. They had a sweetheart dance, and I got to take my daughter to it. And I have not been back in the prom setting in a while, but I will tell you that her being only in kindergarten was just like the same exact thing. I sat there as girls ran to the center of the room. They all danced all night, and all the guys, the dads, sat in the back and just jawed it up in the back, and it was hilarious. And it was the exact same thing, doing the Congo line and watching them all do that, and they were all munchkins. So I wanted to say thank you to Suntree Elementary and giving me that great opportunity. Thank you, guys.
And Dr. Blackburn, I realized last meeting that although we do give you an opportunity to do a superintendent's report at the end of the meeting, I think I have been overlooking giving you the opportunity for recognition early in the meeting when there may still be people here to hear the recognition. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine. If you would like to think for a minute, if there's anything that you would like to include in this portion of the meeting, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'll throw mine out there, and then I'll turn it over to you if you have anything you'd like to share. So I had the honor of joining our leading and learning staff, as well as I don't know how many of our teachers, principals, resource teachers at the Standards Institute in Orlando for 4 days. The focus, I was in the leadership track, and our facilitator kept saying to us, the purpose of you being here is to develop cognitive empathy. And I can tell you, I had some serious cognitive empathy by the end of the 4 days of digging into standards. We did 2 days of math and 2 days of ELA. The 5th day, I wasn't able to be there because I had already had a trip scheduled, but those 4 days were incredibly enlightening for me to be able to understand what our teachers are facing and implementing the standards in our classrooms each and every day, and certainly gave me some food for thought as to how we can better support them from the district level in the efforts to do that. So look forward to an opportunity to debrief with staff on some of that. But wonderful opportunity. Certainly, I think a lot of learning took place. Great speakers, great conversation from all over, not only just state of Florida, but the nation. People were there. So I thank Ms. Klein and Ms. Dr. Sullivan for their invitation to join them at that event. Also had the opportunity last week to attend McNair's mock trial event. Their law students every year do a mock trial over at the courthouse, and have to do a huge shout out and thank you to Judge McKibben, as well as the BCSO staff that support her in her courtroom. The students actually put on a full trial in front of the judge. They had a jury that was made up of previous law students that actually ruled on the case, and the judge took the time to run through all of the procedures and how things work in the courtroom, and they were with the judge for, I think, 2.5 hours out of her day that she devoted to those students for that amazing learning opportunity. So much engagement, so much excitement. So we have so many wonderful community partnerships to make these things really come alive for our students, but that was certainly one that I appreciated immensely. And then last week I attended, I think I've shared with you all, the school and community leaders group that I started in the North End. We had our first small committee meeting last week, which was our parent engagement and education committee, led by the district's own Jenny Gleason, who is amazing at parent engagement, and Sylvia Majuskovich, the principal at Space Coast, hosted us for an amazing conversation. They have at Space Coast what they call a parent leadership team, and the parents there are doing some amazing things, showing ownership of the school and helping to do outreach to new parents and really creating a great sense of community at Space Coast. So many thanks to both Jenny and Sylvia for all of their support in that endeavor. And I think that is all I have for this evening. Dr. Blackburn, anything you'd like to add?
Well, yes, I will, Mrs. Belford. Mr. Craig mentioned this past weekend START conference, and yes, it was absolutely phenomenal. Perhaps highlight, right, in addition to the wonderful job Dr. Babursky and staff did for that event, there was a keynote speaker. Michael Reed received a special diploma from us in 2015, and he's still a part of our adult program. He was our keynote speaker. He and Mom spoke about their experience, K to 12, in our schools. And Mrs. Reed said something that was just profound. She said something to the effect of, she thanks Brevard Public Schools and every staff member, every teacher, every aide, every principal that she interacted with for working so well, with her and her family and with Michael. Just a great, great ending to a K-12 story. And I sat there having two thoughts. One, just really beaming with pride and appreciation for all the hard work all those educators put into that family, but also hoping or wanting to figure out how every family, every kid, every parent could have that exact same experience through our system. So one half, absolute pride and kudos to everyone involved, but a second half, we got to make that happen for every kid.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
Mrs. Belford and members of the board, on tonight's agenda, we have 2 recognition items, 3 proclamations, 14 consent items, 2 action items, and 7 information items, as well as 3 board discussion items. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public. There was a recognition item addition, item B10, a check presentation and recognition of the Boeing Company and Boeing's Employees Community Fund. Additionally, there was an addition and revision to consent agenda item F16 on student expulsions. In addition, and an amendment to item F27 on resignation of instructional employee Michelle Zepp.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Ziegler, seconded by Ms. Deskovich. The motion is to adopt the February 28th, 2017 meeting agenda. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. Dr. Blackburn, will you please tell us about the recognition item?
Absolutely. Item B9 is the recognition of the top sponsors of the ABC Awards for helping the district honor those who help strengthen the quality of public education in Brevard County. I only wish I was able to actually attend the ABC Awards. I heard there was someone there posing as me, but unfortunately I was not at that event.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and members of the board. Tonight we have representatives from Community Credit Union, Harris Corporation, and Charter Spectrum, who we'd like to recognize for their contributions that made the ABC Awards possible. Recognition is a critical component of employee and community engagement, demonstrating the underlying value of relationships or people in building a high-quality school district. Schools simply cannot do this alone. All of the sponsors, especially the top 3 that are with us tonight, acknowledge that the efforts of the more than 350 honorees celebrated at the ABC Awards contribute to our accomplishments as a community that values education. Business leaders understand the significance of recognizing achievement to the bottom line and reduce turnover, improved team culture, and increased performance. Through their loyal investment in the ABC Awards program, these leading sponsors are influencing the positive environment necessary to help fulfill the district's educational mission and build a better future for our children. We're extremely grateful for their support financially, as well as the role that each of them plays on stage. Their participation sends a strong signal to our school teachers, employees, volunteers, and partners that their hard work and dedication is noticed and respected. So, it's my pleasure to first recognize Community Credit Union, the premier sponsor of the ABC Awards, and representing them tonight is Deborah Blair, a familiar face to many in our schools who call on her when they need anything from coffee for a workshop to setting up a financial program at the school or to get information about their mascot credit cards. So we appreciate the long-standing partnership that we've enjoyed with Community Credit Union, and I'd like to thank you, Deborah, and invite you to say a few words.
Thank you for recognizing us for our support of the ABC Awards, an event that offers our community an opportunity to honor the outstanding teachers, support staff, volunteers, and administrators in our district. I am probably the most familiar face of the credit union, as it's my pleasure to work in the district and schools each and every day. But it is truly the leadership of Mr. Brock and our board of directors who drive our ongoing and expanding support for schools. So thank you again, Janice, for this recognition, and we look forward to supporting next year's event.
I'd like to hear that. Next, Harris Corporation, red carpet presenting sponsor, is represented tonight by Colleen Bondi, who herself is always working hard behind the scenes and exemplifying Harris's organizational values as a good corporate citizen. Harris employees can be seen supporting the school system in very visible ways, such as the ABC Awards, and also through the many, many volunteer hours that they log as science fair judges, mentors, robotics volunteers, and in the programs that they take into the schools. As a top employer and stalwart supporter, Harris reminds us of the important role that each employee plays in fulfilling our mission by announcing the district's Employee of the Year at the ABC Awards. So I'd like to thank you, Colleen, for Harris Corporation, and invite you to say a few words, if you like.
Wait till after.
Thank you, Janice, and thank you, the board, for this award for Harris and recognition. Promoting STEM is very, very important to Harris, and we definitely appreciate the longstanding partnership we have had with Brevard Public Schools, and we hope to continue in the future. Thank you.
And next, red carpet presenting sponsor, Charter Spectrum. May be a new name, but their support of the Teacher of the Year runs deep. Most recently as Bright House Networks, and before that as Time Warner Cable. We're pleased to welcome Scott McCallum, who is a proud graduate of Brevard Public Schools, and whose role as Director of Government Affairs for Spectrum now covers Brevard County. Scott's involvement in his hometown speaks to Spectrum's parent company, Charter Communications' own mantra, charter our community, improving communities, impacting lives. We can say with certainty that our teachers are doing the same, which makes this the perfect partnership. Thank you, Scott, and I'd like to ask you to say a few words.
Good evening. Just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be a contributor to the Brevard County Public Schools over the last many years. I am a graduate of Titusville High School in 1990 and youngest of 5 siblings that graduated as early as 1976 in Brevard County Schools, so it's dear to my heart. And so I'm proud to be able to represent the new parent company, Charter Communications of Spectrum, formerly Bright House, which was Time Warner Cable. Now we're all together. We merged last May. And one of the things that I'm really proud to bring to Brevard County Public Schools is our new and enhanced low-income broadband program that launched today, and it's a service that's available for your students that are qualified for free and reduced lunch. And so I'll be sharing more information on that. But again, thank you on behalf of our company to be a participant in the ABC Awards.
Dr. Blackburn and Ms. Belford, would you please join us for a picture? Each of these 3 companies makes possible the opportunity for us to say thank you to the Brevard Schools community. On behalf of the Brevard Schools Foundation Board of Directors, we thank you all, and if we could give them another round of applause. And now for the pictures.
See, that's something we should promote. And I think that Spectrum program for free and reduced is like $10 a month for internet. As much as they do for us, we should just get the message out to our family. Well, the same way you do messages to through Edline, kind of through. You send a flyer home. He let Spectrum print the flyers out and distribute them like they have along with our communication policy on that.
Great job.
Actually, Dr. Blackburn, I think you have another item for us.
I do. Item B10 is a check presentation and recognition of the Boeing Company and their Employees Community Fund. We have with us tonight Ingrid Piedrahita, Community and Education Investor, Global Corporate Citizenship, as well as Elaine Fitzwater, representing the Employees Community Fund. Janice Kershaw, President of Brevard Public Schools Foundation, will tell us more.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and members of the board. Boeing has been an excellent partner to Brevard County and Brevard County Schools through its support of the Schools Foundation, and in particular, the Professional Learning Opportunities for Math and Science Educators Program. Boeing believes that teachers and school leaders are key drivers of student achievement. Teachers prepare and inspire students to pursue their dreams, and how those students learn matters just as much as what they learn. This professional development program has helped to provide educators with the tools and leadership skills that they need to inspire their students to use creativity, collaboration, persistence, and problem solving to explore how science and engineering can help solve real-world problems. Learning these critical skills will serve our students well as they become the next generation of leaders and innovators in the 21st century. So, Ms. Piedrahita has a check for $51,461, which represents Boeing's investment in these professional learning opportunities as well as the Employees Community Fund's gift. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us here. We're very proud to be a partner with Brevard Schools Foundation. You have an amazing team. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we greatly appreciate that investment in our schools, and I'd like to present the certificate to the Boeing Company.
You gotta get down there and take a picture, Misty.
And that's just a token of our appreciation, and I'd like to move on to our next presentation with Ms. Fitzwater, who has represented Boeing Employees Community Fund tonight. One of the largest employee-owned and managed funds of its kind in the world, the Employee Community Fund of the Boeing Company has been empowering employees to make greater impact by pooling their tax-deductible donations for more than 60 years. Employee advisory boards provide combined employee donations to nonprofits in their community through ECF grants. Their dollars help strengthen local communities, and how they've done this for us is by making critical needs grants available to our schools for everything from helping provide basic math manipulatives that teachers can use to teach math skills at Atlantis Elementary, to supporting Project Read at Jackson Middle School, and purchasing new headphones for Palm Bay Elementary, to name just a few of the grants. So their contribution is part of that check that Ingrid just presented, and it was almost $6,000 that was contributed to critical needs grants that impacted 11 schools this school year. Would you like to say a few words? I said it all. Thank you. Well, then we would like to present this certificate to you and really extend our thanks back to the employees for contributing to the fund and supporting Brevard Public Schools.
That we will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, Dr. Blackburn and Ms. Belford, would you join us for a picture? And once again, on behalf of Brevard Schools Foundation Board of Directors, we thank you, Boeing Company and Employees Community Fund. Appreciate all you do for the schools. Thank you.
Dr. Blackburn, that moves us to resolutions and proclamations.
Mrs. Belford, there are 3 items under this category. First is to proclaim March 6th through the 10th National School Breakfast Week. Matt Reed, Assistant Superintendent of Government and Community Relations, will read the proclamation for us. Mr. Reed.
Well, we all know the importance of starting the day with a great breakfast with 7 essential vitamins and minerals, right? So let's get started here. Whereas the school breakfast program has served our nation admirably since it was permanently established in 1975, and whereas the school breakfast program is dedicated to the health and well-being of our nation's children, and whereas the school breakfast program joins and has been joined through the years by many other excellent child nutrition programs, and whereas there is evidence of continued need for nutrition education and awareness of the value of school nutrition programs, now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Brevard County, Florida hereby proclaims the week of March 6th through March 10th, 2017 as National School Breakfast Week, and urges all parents, students, and staff members to become aware and concerned about their children's and their own nutritional habits in hope of achieving a more healthful citizenry for today and the future.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, the motion is made to proclaim March 6th through the 10th National School Breakfast Week, made by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Ziegler. And if you would please vote.
No discussion.
No. Do you want discussion?
Pancakes.
I don't know if they're in the healthy list or not.
They're whole wheat.
Well, yeah, with maple syrup.
Chocolate chips got vitamin C.
All right, enough discussion.
somebody's
Motion
saying.
passes 5-0. Dr. Blackburn.
Next is a resolution proclaiming March 6th through the 10th as Relay for Life Week in Brevard Public Schools. Rick Morton will read the proclamation for us. Mr. Morton is Vice Chair of American Cancer Society of Brevard County. In addition to his duties here, he's also my personal partner in crime for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I've been buying all my pink ties and cufflinks. I'm getting ready for October, Mr. Morton.
Well prepared then.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Ms. Belford, distinguished board members, and Dr. Blackburn, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to come before you again to highlight the tremendous support the Brevard Schools community has shown American Cancer Society Relay for Life throughout the year. For more than 10 years, Brevard Schools employees have proudly supported ACS and the Relay for Life events in Brevard. The support has been given gracious attention by our school and site administrators in recent years through the proclamation of Relay for Life Week in Brevard Schools. With more than 3,000 residents in Brevard County taking part annually, Relay truly has become a recognizable event in our community. Through education, advocacy, research, and services, ACS and Brevard's public schools are making a difference in the lives of cancer survivors throughout our community. With more than 70 BPS teams taking part in Relay for Life last year, raising more than $100,000. With that, I offer the following proclamation for your consideration. Whereas Relay for Life is the signature activity of the American Cancer Society and celebrates cancer survivors and caregivers, remembers loved ones lost to disease, and empowers individuals and communities to fight back against cancer. And whereas money raised during Relay for Life supports the American Cancer Society's mission of saving lives, celebrating lives, and leading the fight for a world without cancer. And whereas Relay for Life helped fund more than $150 million in cancer research last year and assisted more than 51,000 patients navigate their treatment regimen. And whereas Brevard Public Schools employees created and participated in more than 70 Relay for Life teams in 2016, raising more than $100,000 in the fight against cancer and brought a focus to this disease and the many services offered by ACS in the community. Now therefore be resolved that the School Board of Brevard County does hereby proclaim March 6th through 10th, 2017 as Relay for Life Week in Brevard schools and encourages citizens to participate in one of the 4 community Relay for Life events in Brevard County this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion is made by Mr. Susan to approve the resolution proclaiming March 6th through 10th as Relay for Life Week, seconded by Mr. Ziegler. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Please vote. Passes 5-0. Dr. Blackburn.
Our last proclamation for this evening is to adopt the month of March as Youth Art Month, Music in Our Schools Month, and Theater for Life Month. Mr. Reed will do the honors.
Okay. But whereas art, music, theater, and dance are basic influences in the lives of millions of people who participate in performing and listening experiences developed through arts programs in the schools, and whereas it is fitting for the School Board of Brevard County to recognize art, music, theater, and dance in our schools as essential parts of the learning process and to encourage and support this significant area of study that is a powerful channel for the innermost feelings and responses of every child. And whereas Youth Art Month, Music in Our Schools Month, and Theater for Life Month are special opportunities for citizens to understand and support the ongoing process of arts education and are designed to bring about a renewed recognition of the importance of the arts in education. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the superintendent and school board hereby proclaim the month of March as Youth Art Month, Music in Our Schools Month, and Theater for Life Month, and urge all citizens to join in recognizing the special contribution that the arts make in the lives of Florida's children.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Ziegler to adopt the proclamation, to approve the proclamation to adopt the month of March as Youth Art Month, Music in Our Schools Month, and Theater for Life Month. Seconded by Mr. Susan. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Please vote. And the motion passes 5-0. We are now at public comments. The maximum allotted time for each speaker is 3 minutes. Please be reminded that statements shall be directed to the board chairperson. No person may address or question board members individually. The board chairperson may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. If an individual does not observe reasonable decorum, the board chairperson may request that individual leave the meeting. Please keep in mind that we often have children present and/or children viewing our board meetings, and we encourage an environment appropriate for them. Comments regarding agenda items up for action will be considered when making our decisions. Additionally, board members may assist with connecting public speakers to district staff that can assist with concerns, respond in brief to comments made by speakers that require immediate clarification, or request that a response to a specific speaker be placed on the school board's website under the section called For the Record. These responses will take place at the end of the public comment portion of the meeting. I request that you speak into the microphone and state your name. We have 3 speakers this evening: Dan Bennett, Arthur Christensen, and Mike Bizzaro. Dan, if you would please approach.
Get 2 microphones. I hope you didn't use my 3 minutes going over the rules for public speaking.
I did.
Good evening, members of the board. Good evening, Dr. Blackburn. I'm going to use my 3 minutes of fame this evening to talk about the final 3 months of the school year and what projects I think we can work on in efforts of true collaboration. Collaboration, I was reading an article this afternoon from Randy Weingarten, president of American Federation of Teachers. She said, collaboration is not the absence of conflict. Collaboration is a time to put aside your differences, your mistrusts, and your history and move forward. And that's where we are. That's been our goal, I think, of us all working together over the past couple of years, is to put aside that history. A lot of people still remember it, but in the final couple months of school, I want to talk about our agenda, which I think is a shared agenda with all of you. First of all, for years, boy, ExCED has been an issue in this county. And I want to show appreciation for some of the leadership in this district of exceptional education and their willingness to come to a forum that we had shortly after winter break, and there's another one coming up March 30th. Teachers are frustrated, parents are frustrated. You've had people come up to the podium and express their frustrations, but we're breaking down some of the misunderstandings, getting information out there. It's been a true a project. Anthony has spearheaded the union effort on this, and March 30th we have our second forum coming up. Next on our agenda we have, now this was a quick victory. We have the teacher lead money, which is called something else now, but it's the classroom supply money. And there were a lot of questions and concerns about the due dates for that money coming in. We had some problems of receipts not being accepted, then teachers had to write checks. I met with Penny Zerker and Rivers down there, and we got an extension for money being spent. It was just a good example of something that even a couple of years ago, with the sort of collaborative efforts we had collaboration in name only. But a couple of years ago, that meeting never would have happened, that relief never would have come, but I appreciate that worked out well. The issues, by the way, they get more difficult as they go down the line. We had a huge announcement and victory, I consider it, a couple weeks ago about an agreement in principle about the PGP for next year. And we left it with a star with some small print that said we need to work out the legalities and logistics. Well, it's very high on our agenda that we get that done. We've looked at the law. It's not something that we have to do, but there is a hurdle of getting DOE on board. And we just want to follow through and get that done. And we look forward to proclaiming that small print is gone. Along with that, we have a short form evaluation. We have principals spending so many hours on teachers that are highly effective and they have to document how good they are. Let's get that knocked out also. Let's schedule the meetings. Let's come together. Let's do whatever we need to. It's in our contract that we'll meet in the spring. So let's continue those meetings and get it done. We started on a discipline plan earlier in the year. Now, this was originally a joint venture. I met with Dr. Blackburn and some other folks over the summer. I said, we want to do this. It was going to be a year-long project. Now I'm hearing from rumors from people saying, well, there's other meetings going on. The union would like to be a part of that. We'd like to be in those meetings and the trainings and things going on, not just the, as I call it, the sentencing guidelines, the if you do this, you get that, but also the social emotional part. What are we going to do for those children that just, they keep getting in trouble? How do we mentor them and coach them? We want to be a part of that. And finally, the effort to attract and retain teachers to this district. VFT was part of a grant. We brought in $600,000 to the district. Whatever's going to happen next year when that grant expires, we want to be a part of those talks. We want that to be collaborative, not just we wait to find out what happened, but we want to be part of the talks. Thank you all. Have a
Mr.
nice
Bennett.
evening.
All right, next is Arthur Christensen.
My name is Arthur Christensen. I live at 1250 Windsor Drive, Merritt Island. These are the number of letters, copies that I have written to people in the school trying to get them to listen. And there are more. And I have some envelopes for the new board members so they can look and see and read for themselves. That's the same one that is sent to the to Mr. Blackburn and John Craig. No one listened until John Craig came on board and the county commissioner, which I'm sure you know who that is. I read in a newspaper about new schools and more portables, and I was very disturbed that there was no proposal on how to handle the additional traffic and community respect. I live next to Stevens School, and it was expanded to 400 students and staff. No provisions were made for the new traffic, indicating complete lack of safety for students and the community. It was such as 400 cars twice a day on a 2-lane residential street into a 2-lane gate with miniature traffic signs backwards in the wrong lane, everyone trying to hunt for 150 parking places. Result was chaos and lawlessness. Stevens School then tried to fix this by illegally using residents' private property. Result, disrespect and law violations. Danger, small students were unloaded and loaded in traffic lanes, private driveways, lawns, grass, etc. At times, we could not even leave our home or get to our residence or receive U.S. mail because Stevenson School used the community as a school yard extension. Even today, we can see students walking off the campus, and the parents cruise up and down the residential streets to find them. By the way, FM 96.5 covered that twice that I heard. I didn't hear the whole thing, but they talked about a fine of $150 and 3 points on a driver's license. Obviously, it must be a state requirement. In reality, I think senior citizens are being bullied by the school, and war veterans, and danger to the children. I don't think you should send in portables or anything else to expand Stevens School any further, which I understand you're not going to do. But for the other schools, do it right. Think of safety and respect the community.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. And our last speaker is Mike Bizzaro.
My favorite thing, public speaking. And I don't, just from my own orientation, is the general thing that the school board is doing regarding Islam. Are they telling the students in general, you know, Muhammad is a prophet, the Quran is a holy book, and Allah is another name for God? Is that the general picture? Are you allowed to ask questions?
We typically do not answer questions directly. We could certainly put you in touch with staff members who could give you more detail on the curriculum. But during your 3 minutes, we try to give you your 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, well, if that's the situation, and I'm pretty certain it is, I hope the board understands that they're increasing the probability and the chances of a violent attack going on public property and within the school district for the simple reason that the Quran and the Hadith say over 70 times over to terrorize a non-believer, cast terror into the hearts of unbelievers, slay the unbelievers wherever you see them. And these are all right on islamcity.com, Sunnah.com, and all the Muslim-run websites. So you might want to think, you know, are we telling the students the right thing? Because what you're doing in reality is you're lighting a match, you're putting the match this close to the Islam fuse, where somebody who identifies as an Islamist would say, well, you know, here's all these citations from the Quran that say I'm supposed to be damaging or hurting my classmates. So is there any way to get handouts to the board? Or
If you would like to provide handouts, you could leave them with Ms. Escobar down at the end.
Okay, and then one last thing. This thing about Muhammad being the last prophet of God in the 7th century AD, that is a complete impossibility just by logic. He said the exact opposite of 4,000 years of Old Testament prophets, so he cannot possibly be a prophet. The Quran can't possibly be right because of its internal contradictions, and there's no such thing as an Allah. It's a fiction from the 7th century. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, sir. Have a great evening. The board wishes to thank this evening's speakers. Your willingness to speak to the board is appreciated. That moves us to the consent agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 14 agenda items under this category, one with prior information.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. Does any board member wish to pull any items on the consent agenda? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to accept the consent items.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it is moved by Mr. Craig and seconded by Ms. Deskovich that we approve the consent agenda from the February 28th meeting. Any discussion? Please vote. All right, the motion carries unanimously. Anyone need a recess?
No, thanks.
Very good. We will move on to the action agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 2 items for your consideration. The first item is item G29 on Brevard Property Appraiser Homestead Audit.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, it is moved by Mr. Susan, seconded by Mr. Ziegler to approve item G29 on the Property Appraiser's Homestead Audit. Any discussion? Mr. Ziegler.
I would just like to thank Property Appraiser Dana Blickley and Milo Zonka for showing up and for what they're doing for the citizens of Brevard and making sure that all of the homestead exemptions are accurate and helping us out with the revenue and the collections. A very, very forward-thinking program to be fair to everybody concerned in this county. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Please vote. And the motion passes 5-0. Dr. Blackburn,
The next one is item G30 on purchasing solicitations.
what are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Susan to approve the purchasing solicitations G30. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
All right, please vote. The motion passes 5-0. All right, we will move on to the information agenda, which includes item for board review and will be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Blackburn,
There are 7 items under the information category.
does any member wish to discuss any item?
H32.
Page 32. Okay, Mr. Ziegler.
I just wanted to thank HR for bringing this forward. This is important to the benefit of our employees. It's always been a pet peeve of mine that when we have accusations of employees possibly doing something wrong in our environment, that they're put on paid administrative leave pending an investigation, a very uncomfortable place for them to be. And the quicker we can resolve those and get them back to work, the better. And this is a great step in that direction to help our employees. So thank you very much. I very much support this.
Very good. Any additional discussion? Any additional discussion on any other information items? Okay, then that moves us to board member reports. Any board members like to speak?
Do you want to do that before discussion?
Well, it's listed before the 3 discussion items, so if there's anything that anyone would like to share prior to, Mr. Ziegler.
Yeah, I'd like to report to the board that last week, Mr. Langdorf and I went to Tampa to a forum on a new way of implementing healthcare administration, third-party administration, a program. There's actually about 4 different components relevant to what we do for our employees. Very forward-thinking, but I'd seen this many years ago, but it really didn't seem to have a whole lot of data or companies under its belt or success. Well, that's long gone now. This is a very interesting program that can, in my opinion, can make all of our successes to date in healthcare and savings that we've accomplished, make it look small. I'm very excited. I'm thankful to Mr. Langdorf for coming because he's exceptional when it comes to analyzing insurance and programs and things of that nature. He understands it better than me, and he was very intrigued. I can point you all in the direction if you want more information on it, and I suggest you all do a little bit of homework because I believe that the model for contracting is going to be a little bit different than what we currently do. Currently, we award a contract for third-party administration based on a fee per employee per month. And I've said for years, I almost really don't care what the per employee per month cost is because the real expense in healthcare is on the claim side. And this model represents a way to control the claim side. I happened to meet a gentleman while I was in Tampa. He's the senior vice president of a company called Marine Max. They have 900 employees. They have 1,500 lives that they cover on their self-insured plan. They're one of the largest yacht dealers in the country. They were with Cigna just like we were, pleased with the service. But when they went to this model 9 months ago, they've saved so far about $1.3 million off of what they spent previously. They're on track to save about $1.5 million first year for 1,500 lives. Remember, we have about 12,000 lives on our program. So I think it's very worthy of consideration because if this can do what we believe it can do for our insurance trust fund, I think it can significantly save us money, keep us away from the Cadillac tax of Obamacare, which first time we get hit with that could be $2.5 million in the event it doesn't get revoked or whatever. So I'd like you all to it's called cost plus as part of the model. There are other components, including a pharmacy component and a international prescription component to it, which, by the way, as I understand, we can implement on top of what we currently do. Very excited about the potential for savings. I even dare say that it can keep us from hopefully ever having to raise premiums to our employees, and maybe even allow us with adequate savings, which I think will be there to reduce premiums for employees. I know this board has been very focused on what we can do to help our employees with benefits, and I think there's going to be a win-win for all. But it looks like it's going to be a different model than what we've been implementing, and that creates a challenge when it comes to bid time, because we've got to figure out how to analyze apples to apples when there may not be many competitors with this model. So it's going to take some education on all of our part to understand the opportunity. Fortunately, we have time. This will not, I'm not clear, but I think our current contract comes up for rebid in 2018, which means that we'd have to go out to bid at the beginning of 2018 to renew that contract, which means we have to start doing our homework now so that we know what our interests are at the beginning of the year. Too often these things have come to the board in the 9th hour, and we didn't even have time to ask a question so much as give direction. We have time to speak with Mr. Langdorf, get his input, give your thoughts, but I wanted to bring to your attention, this is I'm very excited at the potential for this district and for our employees. Really productive meeting last week.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ziegler. Could you please forward that information to the board members and Dr.
I
Blackburn
will,
so that we
yes.
can do some
Absolutely.
reading on it? Thank you. Any other board member reports? Okay, Mr. Susan, you had asked to have an item added to the agenda regarding the aviation facility at O'Galley High School.
Yeah, I want to say thank you. This is an issue that I wanted to thank Dr. Blackburn and Dane Theodore and all the other groups that have been working on this thing. O'Galley was set up as an aviation tech program two years ago. And when we did it, we asked a gentleman to come in from Alabama and set it up, walk through Embraer, and started this process of creating what would become the first aviation tech program almost in the state of Florida for high school. It actually is being written into the Department of Education as a class as we speak, as we move forward with it. The support for this program coming from the Economic Development Council, along with CareerSource as one of the top needed professions inside of our county, but also the top profession coming out of our high schools for career and technical programs that we have, right? So great program, we're moving forward. Unfortunately, what ended up happening due to the funding and due to Embraer and a couple other community partners not stepping up the way that they promised, Bill McGinnis ended up working inside of a locker room with plain wings and everything else. He's been in there for 2 years. Cramped space, horrible situation. I ran on this on my campaign, got a lot of community support, and what I basically did was wanted to put it on there because there was some kind of let's get moving because there's a grant that's applied to this. We received a $500,000 grant to put supplies in both at our Bayside and our O'Galley program. That grant, the tools needed to be implemented by June 30th in order for us to take advantage of it. So I wanted to put it on here to get it moving and everything else, and it looks like that's what we're going to end up doing. In the next week, they're going to go and start putting the process in where they're going to either put together a hangar, retrofit the existing infrastructure for a different type situation so that he can have a plane in there and facilitate it, and move forward with possibly being in next year, near the latter part of next year, getting a certificate of occupancy and becoming the lead aviation tech program in the state of Florida. The main reason I wanted to put it on here was in case anybody had any questions on it or anything else as we were moving forward, because it was taking that $2 million that was inside that special fund that came for career and technical. It was part of the build-in for that. And I didn't know if there were any questions on that. No? Okay.
Looks like we're good. Thank you very much for the update.
Thank you.
I have asked to place 2 items on the discussion for tonight. First, I am the Brevard representative on the Florida School Board Association Legislative Committee as well as the Advocacy Committee. As part of my role in that, we actually have an advocacy and legislative committee meeting combined tomorrow or the next day. But they've given us a heads up that one of the asks will be that we travel to Tallahassee during session to be up there, attend some committee meetings, have some meetings with legislators, in addition to our normal Tallahassee trip that we do for a day in the legislature, which I have to attend also because I am the backup for the nominating committee for FSBA. So I have to go to day in the legislature. I wanted to put it out there to you all prior to our legislative committee meeting this week to get your thoughts on, do you want me to commit to represent Brevard at another time in addition to our day in the legislature trip during session? It's not something that we had budgeted for, planned for. I'm more than happy to do it if you all want me to go, but I didn't want to just commit us, our funds and my time. So yes, Mr. Craig.
So the day in the legislature time, I'm not going to attend that. So my portion of that budget will be available, and I'm happy. I've already talked to Dr. Blackburn. We're going to work with with Capital City to figure out what's a good time for me to go. And perhaps we can dovetail those two together so that I can represent at this other time. Is that okay with FSBA? I mean, is it a presence thing or is it a committee thing?
I think it's a presence thing. I think if I just let them know that you're planning on
'cause
going
I'm more
up
than
there.
happy to, and we'll coordinate those times, and yeah, we're going to work to see what's a strategic time for me to go, so we can go from different angles.
Beautiful. I will then let FSBA know that you're going to be traveling up, and I'll
Unless
update them
anybody,
when.
Well, it gets a little convoluted for what I have to say, but I'm on the legislative committee for the Florida Coalition of School Board Members, and so I will be going to Tallahassee. I'm not sure when exactly, but representing us, them, but a different avenue. So I don't know if that counts. I support you going whenever you want to go on behalf of FSBA. I'm guessing we're going to be championing a lot of the same things for education, but I don't know if that covers double duties or what that does.
Well, I think the big thing is that in our budget, in our school board budget,
I'll be going on my own dime, so it
okay.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter to us.
And I do, too.
But If I may, one of our responsibilities is to advocate for Brevard Public Schools, and going up there, I think, is a very important part of the job we were elected to do. I mean, I'm sure that when you campaigned, that people asked if you were going to lobby for us, and so therefore, I don't see, one, that you need to pay for it yourself, and number two, that we need to be frugal when the results of our efforts can be really significant. Our presence is important. We already, part of our strategic plan was to hire a lobbyist to make this happen. So we need to support that plan as much as possible. I'll be going up for a day in the legislature. I don't know if I'll be going up anytime other than that, but I do support you going up, and I actually support any of us going up as often as possible if it is prudent for what we're trying to accomplish.
So what I'm thinking is perhaps what we should all do is coordinate with Capital City to determine when it's most important for us to be up there in addition to day in the legislature. And maybe that's what I'll tell FSBA, is we're coordinating with our local lobbyists to determine when and not commit us to a specific week during committee. Dr. Blackburn, your thoughts on that?
I'm actually going to be with Nick Iarossi. He's coming to town this week, right? So we'll meet, we'll discuss dates, but I do know that especially during this session, our presence and visibility in Tallahassee is going to be crucial. Last year's legislative agenda was worth roughly almost $18 million, and this year could be worth even more. So the notion of spending resources in order to protect our resources is pretty significant. So we'll take a look at the dates, work with everyone's calendar, but I actually agree with what Mr. Ziegler just said. we're going to have to use our resources in order to protect our resources, especially during this session.
So direct response then at my meeting this week, I will just let them know that I'm happy to be up there during session, but I want to coordinate with our local lobbyist, and I will email them sometime next week to let them know when I plan to attend. Would that be reasonable? Mr. Susan, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'll be up there twice besides the School Boards Coalition also, but the one thing that I was going to say is they're all coming back to town right before session. We should all be setting times to see each one of them when they come back and hit them with our agenda while they're in the house. They're here because we got more time with them one-on-one. You get up there, it's an absolute disaster.
Right.
We get crammed into a little box and try to talk to them for 10 minutes as they're going in between committee meetings. It's crazy.
Yeah. Mr. Ziegler? Oh, sorry.
I want to ask Ms. Deskovich if you can share with us the legislative priorities, and we'll, of course, you'll get FSBA's legislative priorities, so we can see the alignment.
Absolutely, I'll forward them to you. I was just going to ask if we thought it was a good idea if our lobbyists maybe present us through Dr. Blackburn lists of dates that he thinks it's necessary, and then if we all get it, we can kind of say, oh, I'll take that one, I'll be there then. At least we know when we have coverage, and maybe not double. If I have a choice between 2 dates, I'll pick one when you're not going, or something of that nature.
Great idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, if you could ask him for issues that he feels are going to be important for us to speak on, and then share those with us so that we can get better versed on them as soon as possible, or if we need to speak with Nick or whoever to get better versed. That way we're all aligned and talking about the same things. I guess he'll know what's going to move, what's not going to move, what we need to be concerned with, what we don't have to waste time with.
And if we could have the dates, if he knows when they're home. Like Matt said, let's hit them while they're home, too. If he knows that would be helpful for us.
They're home this week.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for all of the discussion on that item. I think we have a good plan moving forward. I appreciate it. The next item that I asked to be put on the discussion point, and I forwarded you all an email with the information, Brian Dassler, who is the Deputy Chancellor for Teacher Quality at the Florida Department of Education, nominated me to take part in a Leadership Florida group called Leadership in Education. And it consists of four sessions. There's a session in September, a session in October, one in January, and one in February. They're scattered throughout the state, primarily 2-day sessions. And basically, it's a group of education leaders coming together to talk about how we make education in Florida the best it can be. Although I have been recommended, I still have to apply and be approved by the committee. But I didn't want to move forward with doing that until I talked to you all about it, because there is a cost for tuition of the program of $1,950. And that does not cover my hotel stays, which I anticipate looking at the dates and locations that I would probably, it would be an additional 6 nights for all 4 sessions, 6 nights in hotels that we would have to pay in addition to the tuition. It wouldn't take effect until next budget year, but I wanted to bring it forward to you all and kind of take your temperature on it before I apply and commit us to anything. Comments, questions?
I think Mr. Ziegler always says, the better trained we are, the better group we're going to be. I'm just a little curious on I don't know anything about it. You may have sent me something. If you think it's worthwhile, I support you, but I'd like to, just for public record reasons, some bullet points of what the benefits are.
Sure. So it is a program through Leadership Florida, which develops leadership in all different areas throughout the state, pulls together different folks, great programming. But the specific Leadership in Education program says it's finding the path to vault Florida's K-12 public schools to national prominence is the central goal for Leadership Florida's Leadership in Education. Class includes accomplished superintendents, school board members, principals, teachers, state education department professionals, education foundation representatives, association leaders, business partners, and other public officials. Over the course of 8 months, the class will intensively focus on the opportunities and challenges associated with making Florida the #1 state in the country for public education, as well as a true global leader. So that's just kind of a small snippet. Mr. Susan.
Are you looking for us to approve this for you?
Well, I don't know that we necessarily need to take a vote on the item because it's not a dollar amount item that would require a vote, but I certainly would appreciate the input of my fellow board members as to whether or not I should go forward.
I think you should go forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Leadership Florida, and I think their programs are excellent. I think that this is a good opportunity for Brevard to have a say in how we continue to transform Florida public education, because there's a lot of work to do, and if there is a group that has the ability to make some pretty bold moves, I think Leadership Florida has the inroads in order to do that, and so having that conduit, I think, is very important.
Thank you very much. I agree. I think it's a great opportunity for Brevard, and certainly appreciate the recommendation of the Deputy Chancellor and look forward to being able to make some good things happen. Mr. Ziegler.
And by the way, congratulations for being selected or given the opportunity to apply.
Thank you.
Good choice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, then I believe we were at Superintendent's report. Dr. Blackburn.
Is Rachel still back there?
Surely she is.
I should have said it earlier. So Rachel, formerly Rachel Hawk, was married this weekend, and she's now Mrs. Rachel Horst, and she was here not only a few days after getting married, she was here working this evening, so we can just recognize her. And also, Dr. Mullins back there welcomed a son-in-law into the family this past weekend. So it was a very, love was in the air this weekend, I'll say that. So congratulations to both families. Definitely want to, Mr. Bennett mentioned the collaborative effort between BFT, 1010, and BASA. I think that's great. We do get together pretty regularly, no holds barred. There are conflicts, but like hearts, like minds, pointed in the right direction, and one of the better meetings I have on a regular basis, so definitely appreciate that collaboration. This past Saturday, I'm going to talk about the START conference here in a minute, but after the START conference, several of us got an opportunity to go over to the King Center and spend time with our elementary schools during their festival. And so that was just a great event. I saw Cindy Johnson here earlier, so congratulations to her and her leadership for making that happen. Approximately, Mr. Craig, I think you mentioned this, but approximately 800 students, grades 7 through 12, participated in 3 regional science and engineering fairs this month. Many community business organizations and institutions supported our students, and one award, there were FIT scholarships for those events totaled over $2.5 million. So great job to our kids. We mentioned the START conference earlier and the leadership of Dr. Babursky there, but we also had DOE Bureau Chief for Exceptional Education and Student Services, Monica Torrado, was one of our speakers, in addition to Mike Reed. The participants were able to select from a variety of topics and breakout sessions, from guardianship to navigating the difference between high school and college, to ABCs of behavior management. Our community partners were well represented. It was just a great atmosphere of every facet of the community coming together to make sure that our students with special needs get everything that they deserve and that they need. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those things. That's my report. I see Dr. Babursky in the audience, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Blackburn. Any additional business from the board members? No. Seeing no further business, we are adjourned.